Chapter 57. Lu Kang Lan. Chen Chen actually hadn't left the pavilion. He wasn't in a hurry to leave. Instead, he was waiting at the entrance door. You slightly exceeded the time limit. Next time, please pay attention, said Protector Bei while looking at Chen Chen and shaking his head. I slightly exceeded the time limit, but there's another guy who's been in there for ages, way over the time limit. I want to see what will happen to him, thought Chen Chen, waiting for Lin Feng to come down. Lin Feng didn't make Chen Chen wait for too long. A short time after, he also came down looking relaxed as if there was no problem at all. Protector Bei, here are the skills and agility technique that I chose, said Lin Feng while glancing at Chen Chen. Lin Feng handed skill and agility technique books over to the Protector Bei while smiling in a friendly way. Purity technique, it will help you consolidate your agility basics. It is definitely worth learning, said Protector Bei while looking at the agility technique and skills which Lin Feng had chosen. He was nodding with agreement. He then added, 8 Strikes of Desolation is at the bottom of the Zon level skills, yet, it is an extremely powerful skill. It is hard to learn and practice, but considering your abilities, it should not be too much of a problem. Concerning the Sword of Nirvana, which is a triple strike attack, everybody can learn it, but only a real genius can master it to perfection. People who manage to master it to perfection are really rare. You will have to make great efforts to achieve such a mastery of this skill. Protector Bei was still looking at the agility technique and skills that Lin Feng had chosen and continued to give his opinion. If someday by any chance, you manage to carry out these 3 hits using the Sword of Nirvana at full strength, then don't learn another skill which is at the bottom of the Zon level or even an average Zon level, directly move on and learn a high Zon level skill. However, if you manage to master the skill, you will not have a problem even if it collides with a high level Zon skill. Lin Feng was smiling when he heard what the old man was telling him. The gap between the different sub-levels of the Zon level was colossal, but if Lin Feng managed to master that skill, he would still be able to carry out amazingly strong attacks which could match a high-level Zon skill. At the side of the pavilion, Protector Bei and Lin Feng were talking and laughing cheerfully. The more they talked, the uglier and angrier Chen Chen's face looked. It looked like Lin Feng and Protector Bei were actually friends. No wonder Lin Feng took such liberties. He was on the first floor for a long time, more than that allocated within an oil lamp, said Chen Chen, interrupting them in the middle of their conversation, which made Protector Bei smile. He then turned his head and looked at Chen Chen. I know, said Protector Bei, calm and unperturbed. Since you know that he violated the rules of the sect, shouldn't he be severely punished? Chen Chen hadn't expected Protector Bei to admit it in such a straightforward way while looking like he was feeling completely at ease. He was feeling even more furious. Protector Bei looked at Chen Chen with a strict look. He shook his head and then said, I've been here for many, many years. No matter who, elite disciples or even core disciples, have to go through me when they want to enter the Xing Chen Pavilion. What do you think? Are you implying that you are trying to teach me, with my many years of experience, how to do my job? Protector Bei was an extraordinary person. The patriarch of the Yunhai sect, Nan Gongling, showed a lot of respect to him when he saw him. In his eyes, common ordinary disciples were tiny individuals with no power, nothing more. Even if it was the top-ranking ordinary disciples, it was still a tiny individual with no power, a nobody who was not worth his time. It would even be a struggle for elite disciples to be considered less than a tiny insignificant power in front of this protector. Lin Feng was an exception. The first time he had met Lin Feng, he had had an extremely good first impression. He immediately had the impression that Lin Feng was polite and wise beyond his years. Later, he had also found out that Lin Feng was extremely gifted, especially when he had made the 8 drums beat. Therefore, he held Lin Feng in the highest of esteem. What did Chen Chen think? How could he allow himself to interrogate the old man like he had done? How could Protector Bei treat him with esteem? When Chen Chen heard Protector Bei's words, his face started looking demonic. He then said in an extremely cold way, your only job is just to guard the Xing Chen Pavilion. You dare not apply the rules of the sect. That is a very serious crime against the sect, how dare you? Eh? Lin Feng was speechless and shocked by Chen Chen's words. No wonder he was such an imbecile when it came to cultivation and relied on his spirit to achieve minor results. That guy didn't have the least bit of wisdom in his heart. What did that guy think he was doing when threatening Protector Bei and accusing him of having committed a serious crime? The top-ranked ordinary disciple, that guy was living in a dream. He was so used to thinking he was a valuable and noteworthy talent that he had forgotten his place. Protector Bei looked at Chen Chen in a way which clearly showed how ridiculous he thought Chen Chen was. The old man had worked there for a great many years and had never experienced such a thing. He also never got angry, and then at that moment, an ordinary disciple had dared come to him and interrogate him and then tell him that he had committed a crime. Protector Bei was shaking his head. He started opening his mouth but looked like he was still thinking about what to say when his facial expression suddenly changed and shouted, "Get lost." After saying these 2 words, an insane strength burst out and crashed onto Chen Chen's body. At that moment, Protector Bei's eyes were filled with a sharp killing light. His body was unleashing an extremely strong qi. Chen Chen had just felt the extremely strong power against his body and had ended up kneeling down on the ground shaking from head to toe. You are listening to Peerless Martial God audio on light novel Aloud. Chen Chen wasn't the only one who was shaking from head to toe with fear. People inside the Xingchen pavilion had also been shocked by the loud shout. Some of them had come to see what was happening and saw the protector's body surrounded by such a strong and powerful qi. They all kept quiet with fear. As it turned out, that old man who looked sluggish was actually as strong or even stronger than the elders within the sect and looked like a powerful deity to the disciples. The old man's strength was genuinely powerful without question. It was well known that when breaking through to the Ling Qi layer from the Qi layer, cultivators acquired a mysterious and profound strength. When breaking through to the Zan Qi layer from the Ling Qi layer, it was said that the cultivator's three energies, the Qi, the Shen and the Jing, fused together, which enabled the cultivator to acquire a genuinely pure and immense power. The qi inside the body became genuinely pure like the qi of heaven and earth. A tiny bit of that pure power contained an extremely condensed qi, and when it was used in an attack, it could destroy an entire mountain. Protector Bei's shout had actually released that genuinely pure power. The power that had crashed onto Chen Chen's body wasn't immensely strong because Protector Bei had controlled his power perfectly, but it had revealed the fact that he was an extremely strong cultivator who had broken through to the Zan Qi layer. Zan Qi layer. That was an incomparably strong cultivation level. He could easily become an elder in the Yun Hai sect. I will be taking my leave, said Chen Chen while pale but still looking at Lin Feng with an evil look, and added, piece of trash relying on other people's strength. If you join the elite exam, at that moment, I will take good care of you. When saying those words, Chen Chen turned around and left with his head held high. Lin Feng shook his head while looking at Chen Chen. Even though that guy was the top-ranked ordinary disciple, he was extremely arrogant and thought he was better than others. He didn't know anything else but the small place in which he lived and thought he had seen and knew everything. He really did not understand how large the world was and did not know that hidden dragons lay everywhere. Protector Bei's strength was immense. He wouldn't even spare a glance at a cultivator like Chen Chen who was ranked at the top of ordinary disciple. Why would he go out of his way to do favors for Lin Feng? If Chen Chen had even the slightest wisdom, then he would come to the conclusion that he had met someone he could not offend. Besides, everything that had happened was all part of Chen Chen attempting to show his dominance over Lin Feng. By attempting to show off, he had humiliated himself several times. It's been a long time since I had to do something like this. I am much too old for things such as this, thought Protector Bei. Then he said, Shui Yu, when I leave, you'll be in charge of the Xingchen pavilion. After he finished talking, his body started shaking and wings of a crane appeared. Then, he flew high up in the air and disappeared. The crowd was stupefied. They had seen how he had suddenly vanished into the horizon. What a terrifying power. He could even fly. What kind of power was this old man hiding? That old man could travel over 10 kilometers in the blink of an eye. That required an extremely profound power. The crowd had the feeling they were in a dream. The sluggish-looking old man who guarded the Xingchen pavilion had suddenly shown his real power. At that moment, they hated themselves for not noticing and never asking the old man for advice. They had all ignored him. They had eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai. Lin Feng was stupefied as well. His heart was pounding in amazement. Protector Bei was a million times stronger than he was. Much stronger than he had originally thought. A middle-aged man entered the Xingchen pavilion. That was the one Protector Bei had called before leaving, Shui Yu. At that moment, on the highest mountain on the Yun Hai sect, in the room of a temple, a gigantic qi was filling the atmosphere. Many people had gathered in that room and it looked like they were debating about something. Fei Fei, I will consider this with great attention. You should stop worrying, said the patriarch of the Yun Hai sect, Nan Gongling, while smiling. He was speaking to Lu Fei who was sitting next to him. Behind Lu Fei were a multitude of people wearing the same attire. They were all wearing noble red armor. They were precisely the people Lin Feng had seen at the foot of the mountain. They were the troops who were riding Kai Shui armored horses. When she heard Nan Gongling's answer, Lu Fei's beautiful eyebrows frowned. Nan Gongling hadn't replied happily. In fact, it could be seen that he was not happy in the slightest. But Lu Fei could understand him. Letting some of the best disciples of the Yun Hai sect leave with her was a difficult decision. Each of the Yun Hai sect disciples would go on to have children who represented a great future for the sect. How could Nan Gongling abandon any of them easily? Uncle Nan Gongling, you know that my father is not a selfish person. It is fate and it is for the benefit of the Shui Yu country. He will definitely let them come back to the Yun Hai sect. He will treat them well. At that moment, they will all be able to assume a high status and will become pillars of the sect. Lu Fei continued her argumentation. Your father and I practiced cultivation together, grew up together, we love each other like brothers. If he stayed in the Yun Hai sect, he could have become the patriarch of the sect. How could I, Nan Gongling, not know what kind of man he is? The thing is that now, as the patriarch of the Yun Hai sect, everything I do, I must do it considering what is good and bad for the sect first. I cannot selfishly decide things myself. Nan Gongling didn't elaborate more at that moment. He remembered all the things he and Liu Kanglan used to do together without thinking of the consequences of their actions. They were two geniuses of the Yun Hai sect. But these days, as the patriarch of the sect, he couldn't act irresponsibly anymore. End of chapter 57. Hope you guys enjoy the chapter. Please consider subscribing and hit that bell button for future updates.